Caitlin Clark was one heck of a basketball player, but what I did not know was that Caitlin Clark, yes folks, is a time traveler herself.
The entire WNBA was just rocked by Caitlin Clark. The confirmation that supporters have been waiting for is finally here, following weeks of silence, ceaseless conjecture, and growing pressure. She will return. However, why now? Behind the scenes, what changed? And will the Indiana Fever's season be saved by her return? Let's dissect it. Officially, Caitlin Clark is making a reappearance. And don't make a mistake, this makes all the difference. Fans were held in suspense for weeks while the Fever organization remained silent, practices were closed, and injury reports remained ambiguous. However, the entire WNBA landscape abruptly changed overnight with the confirmation. Teams, sponsors, and even broadcasters are unable to deny the impact that the league's top players' return to the court is already having. This goes beyond a single athlete getting well from an injury. This has to do with momentum, playoff positioning, and redefining the Indiana Fever's potential. Indiana's offense was centered solely on her playmaking and shot creation before to Clark's downfall. Without her, the Fever appeared to be a band fumbling for identity and had trouble finding their rhythm. However, the whole vibe of the franchise feels different now that Clark is getting ready to make a comeback. This is the major query that everyone has. Is she prepared to return with all her might? This is the reason this moment is so strong. Rivals are concerned, fans are giddy with anticipation, and the league is keeping a tight eye on things because they know a healthy everything is altered by Caitlin Clark, including playoff dynamics, ticket sales, and pairings. However, there are risks associated with this return, and that's where the intriguing part begins. It has not been an easy path for Caitlin Clark to get to this point. Her anticipated breakthrough season devolved into an exasperating struggle with her own body. She was sidelined when the Fever most needed her due to a persistent groin problem. Given how much contact she has had throughout the year, that setback raised questions about whether she was receiving adequate legal protection. She appeared to be on the verge of returning when catastrophe struck once more. Early in August, while practicing alone, she sustained a bone bruise in her left ankle. Her timeline abruptly changed from vague to totally unpredictable. The same question began to be asked by league players, fans, and experts. This season, will she ever play again? It wasn't only physical rehabilitation. It was insane. We haven't seen this kind of strain on Clark in years. She is bearing the weight of the fan base, the Fever, and possibly the WNBA as a whole. The suspense increased with each day spent away from the court, but so did the scrutiny. Was she being hurried by Indiana? Did she give herself enough time to recover? Nevertheless, here we are in spite of the obstacles. Because of her tenacity, Clark is now in a position to make a comeback. She has also reportedly been looking good in practice. The question today is not if she will return, but rather if she can continue to play at the caliber that made her the most talked about basketball player. The Indiana Fever were struggling to stay afloat while Caitlin Clark was out. The depth of the guard totally collapsed. The squad was forced to fill minutes after Aari McDonald, Sydney Carlson, and Sophie Cunningham suffered injuries. Indiana found it difficult to produce a steady offense without Clark scoring and playmaking, and they were outmatched by top teams. However, this is what's noteworthy. The Fever persisted. To keep the season going, players like Nalissa Smith and Kelsey Mitchell came through with unexpected victories. They've been playing with heart and scrounging for every possession. However, it hasn't been sufficient to put them in a real playoff race. Clark's comeback therefore signifies more than merely having a top player play again. The goal is to bring equilibrium back to a roster that has been overworked. Without her, Indiana has been struggling, but now that their center is back, they have an opportunity to reinvent their offensive style. This is the truth. The Fever's aspirations of making the playoffs are in shambles. As of yet, they have no power over their own fate. However, that might quickly change now that Clark is back in the lineup. From now on, every possession counts. And each victory might mean the difference between this club watching from home or sneaking into the playoffs. Can a late-season turnaround be sparked by Clark's return then? Indiana is taking that risk, and it will result in one of the most exciting basketball games of the year. The squad changes are evidence that the Fever are getting ready for Caitlin Clark's comeback. Kira Lambert was recently cut by Indiana after agreeing to a 7-day deal that was intended to stabilize the guard rotation. She was waived after only 4 seconds of play in one game. The league was taken aback by that move, but upon closer inspection, it makes sense. Lambert was not brought in by the Fever with the intention of using her as a long-term fix. She signed in order to buy time, maintaining rotations until Clark was prepared. One thing is clear from Lambert's early termination, though. Indiana thinks Clark will soon return. Conversely, Odyssey Sims has merited a larger role. The seasoned guard demonstrated her worth as someone who can steady the backcourt and ease Clark back into action by playing 42 minutes in a recent game. Sims is insurance, a seasoned presence who can manage pressure when Clark isn't on the court, and more than simply a stopgap. This roster change suggests a calculated approach in every way. Indiana is not in panic. As soon as Clark returns, they are setting themselves up for maximum flexibility. Indiana's front office is aware that every position on the depth chart counts, with 9 games remaining. If you read between the lines, you'll see that this move was planned out rather than impulsive. The roster should be set to maximize Caitlin Clark's effect as soon as she returns to the court as the Fever get ready to give her back the keys. What is the precise date of Caitlin Clark's return? The million-dollar question is that. The Seattle Storm game is highlighted as a possible return date, and the most likely time frame is between August 22nd and August 26th, based on insider reports and club scheduling. Everything appears to be in perfect alignment. After their final game, the Fever take a long break, which allows Clark more time to get more fit without missing any important games. Clark has reportedly been taking part in full contact drills, which are often the last phase before a player is cleared for game involvement, according to coach Stephanie White's hints. However, this schedule is subject to change. It's difficult to recover from a bone bruise, and the Fever don't want to put her in danger of suffering a setback by hastening her return. That is the reason these upcoming days will be so interesting. To increase their chances of making the playoffs, do they press for an earlier return, or do they wait until she is fully recovered? The twist is here. Now, every game counts. The Fever need Clark as soon as possible, since they are running out of time to move into the postseason. However, one mistake might ruin everything for her and the group. Everything suggests late August. Fans will have to wait until the Fever makes it official, though. One thing is definite whenever it occurs. From the first tip, Clark's first game back will feel like a playoff game. This comeback for Caitlin Clark goes beyond simply playing again. The goal is to safeguard her future. Although she has previously demonstrated that she is among the WNBA's most dynamic offensive players, the risk-reward ratio is quite favorable in this situation. Her career path may be impacted if she returns too soon and aggravates the ailment. However, Indiana's season can end before she even sets foot on the floor again if she waits too long. She is currently walking that tightrope. Her legacy is another aspect of this period. Clark is not your typical youthful celebrity. She represents a franchise and, in many respects, the WNBA. Her actions are exaggerated in every way. Each game is analyzed, and this return is no exception. After missing a lot of time, fans expect her to take up where she left off right away, but that's easier said than done. Her rhythm, conditioning, and camaraderie with teammates will all be put to the test right away. Nevertheless, Clark does well under duress. We've witnessed it previously, such as during her most recent comeback when she made a 32.7 three-pointer explosion against the Liberty. Now, the question is straightforward. Is she able to repeat it? The Fever season isn't the only thing at stake here. It's about demonstrating once more that Caitlin Clark is the league's best person to bear the burden of expectations. Aren't the return of Caitlin Clark benefits more than just the Fever? It completely upsets the WNBA's equilibrium. Her presence affects national coverage of every game she plays, alters the dynamics of the playoffs, and compels opposition defenses to adapt. Let's take a moment to discuss numbers. This season, Clark leads the team in assists 8.8 and points 16.5. She almost always attracts double teams, giving her teammates wide looks and boosting the offense as a whole. Indiana has had trouble scoring 75 points a game without her. That number rises dramatically with her. But basketball isn't the only thing involved. Everywhere Clark performs, attendance soars. In order to show heated contests during prime time, broadcasters modify their schedules. Because they are aware that she increases engagement more than anyone else in the league at the moment, sponsors boost their investment. Her comeback is therefore being regarded as a league-wide occasion. Caitlin Clark has been a major factor in the WNBA's record-breaking viewership this season. This implies that everything changes suddenly for opposing teams. Clark's long shooting range, her ability to break down defenses, and her court vision that makes baskets simple for others have forced coaches to adjust their game plans accordingly. To put it briefly, Caitlin Clark doesn't simply rejoin the Fever. For everyone else, she changes the competitive environment. Her return is therefore more than just news. It's the season's turning point. The strategy of the Fever will change when Caitlin Clark returns. Coach Stephanie White has already made it clear that Clark will be gradually brought back in with a cap on playing time, but she will undoubtedly remain the team's main motivator. Clark's outstanding shooting will likely be used by Indiana to create space, particularly from deep. Because of her gravity, defenders must stretch out past the arc, giving Kelsey Mitchell and Melissa Smith driving lanes. During her absence, that equilibrium has been absent. Off-ball sets will also be important. Indiana may produce mismatches that leave defenders reeling by running Clark through staggered screens. She can make teams pay with her shooting touch and little room. On defense, Clark's presence alters games because she can provide transitional opportunities. The game speed changes in Indiana's favor as a result of opponents having to play tighter and refrain from dangerous turnovers. However, the most significant change will be in chemistry. Due to players taking on new responsibilities while she has been out, Clark hasn't yet shared any noteworthy minutes with this particular rotation. Smoothly reintegrating her back will be essential if the Fever hope to qualify for the playoffs. Simply, when Caitlin Clark is on the court, Indiana's offense unleashes a new weapon. The Fever's ability to rapidly take advantage of her return is more important than whether she will have an impact. There are 9 games left. That's all Indiana needs to do to improve this season, and each and every one counts. The Fever are currently barely outside of the postseason picture, but it is still within striking distance. Teams like Dallas, Seattle, and Chicago, who are all vying for the same slots, find Indiana to be an instant challenger now that Clark is back. This is what will be required. For Indiana to have a realistic chance of making the playoffs, they must win at least 6 of their next 9 games. This entails staying out of trap games and focusing when playing against direct opponents. Although Clark's comeback completely alters the maths, it does not ensure victories. Her ability to score, create plays, and manage pace will determine whether games are close or she steals important wins. Making the playoffs isn't the only goal of this stretch. It has to do with momentum. Indiana's ability to compete with Clark leading the way sets the tone for the upcoming season and beyond, even if they don't go far this year. After years of being in this situation, the Fever now have an opportunity to make an impression. This team is playing for more than just survival now that Clark is back. They are redefining what is conceivable through their play. There's more to Caitlin Clark's comeback than the upcoming match. It concerns the aftermath. This is a turning point for the WNBA as a whole, not just for her. Her reputation as a generational talent is assured if she bounces back strong, takes the team to a postseason run, and shows everyone why she is the league's most explosive player. However, there is also a risk involved. The pressure and attention will only increase if the injury persists or the Fever persists even after she returns. That's what's so intriguing about this comeback. Everyone in attendance is aware that victory is not a given. Caitlin Clark's leadership, vision, and shooting have already altered the course of the game. She now has the opportunity to alter the course once more and demonstrate that she can perform when it counts most, even under extreme pressure. This is the moment that fans have been waiting months for. It has been incorporated into the league's schedules. Competitors are getting ready for it. And now it's occurring at last. There is just one more question. Will Caitlin Clark be able to handle the situation? Or may expectations prove to be too much to bear? There is little doubt that every stroke, every possession, and every victory will feel more significant than before the moment she returns to the court.